back to AIBC Summit here in Dubai. Now joining me, you might recognize these three familiar faces. I have Mr. Vays over here, I have Vinci at J15 and the Moon Curl, some of the most popular YouTubers in the crypto space. So guys, it's great to have you here, and we're going to be doing now a message to new crypto traders. And I want to start, Vinci J, with you when it comes to finding out about Bitcoin. You had a video in 2011 that was talking about how everyone should own $1 of Bitcoin. How did you discover Bitcoin, first of all?
Well, I have the YouTube channel, right, and I was talking about gold and silver because I realized back in 2008 that our financial system is unfair. It transfers wealth from the poor and the middle class to the rich. And I felt that I needed to do something. And so I started talking about gold and silver and how our financial system works. And then one person sent me a message saying, hey, Vinci, what do you think about Bitcoin? And I said, scam. There's no way to solve the double spend problem. The ability to send a digital asset to somebody else and know that nobody else, that person who sent it couldn't send it again to somebody else. They didn't have another copy of it. And so I said, hey, listen, I'm a software developer. Let me take a look at the source code. I'm going to show you how it's a scam, and so that you don't get scammed by this Bitcoin thing. Well, it turns out it wasn't a scam, and then I decided to do a video and say, hey, every once in a while something comes along that you can buy for really, really cheap, and one day you're going to be rich. This is one of them. And I thought for sure that video was going to do extremely well, right? Everybody trusts me. Nope. That video got 750 dislikes and over 100 likes, so it was a horrible video. But and I actually took it down, unfortunately. I wish I kept it up with that first video, but yeah. But I have other videos. Like, for example, I was so desperate to try to get people to buy Bitcoin that I said I'd guarantee their money if they bought it. So only 5 people took me up on that. I said, if Bitcoin goes to zero, I'll pay you back, right? All your money that you lose. And only 5 took me up on an offer. And actually, they were so happy, one of them actually gave me 100 Bitcoins as a gift.
That is a very generous gift in today's market. So Carl, I want to turn to you now and ask you how you got into crypto and how you found it, because you'll tweet often about the fact that you've completely changed your life with crypto. What is your story on how you got involved?
My story? Yeah, so not even 3 years ago, I was working in a grocery store in Sweden, having a normal everyday life like everyone else. And I was dreaming about a bigger future, and I really wanted to be successful and rich and happy and live my dream life. So I just decided to change my mindset, and I decided to act as if I was already rich and happy. And I was acting as if I was already successful, and I even bought some nice looking clothes, some expensive clothes, and every time I put them on I felt like, you know what, I'm successful, I'm who I want to be. And it took only 1 year, 1.5, 2 years before I started to really see my life change. I found out about Bitcoin, I started my YouTube channel, and I met all these interesting people, and eventually, long story short, my life was completely changed. So I went from the grocery store to multi-millionaire in literally no more than 2 years. I think it was not even 2 years. And now I'm sitting here with Vinci and other cool people, Vays. It's cool, it's crazy. It's like a whole new life. And the people in the grocery store, they send me messages sometimes saying that, wow, this is so cool, Carl, how did you do this? And I always tell them it's all about the mindset. It's, it doesn't really matter who you know or what you're doing or what you know before. It's all about the mindset and your dreams and your goals and sticking to it. So very cool, yeah?
Amazing. And law of affirmation as well. You spoke it into existence with the new clothes. It's very cool. And now, Tone, I want to hear from you how you got involved into crypto and how you discovered it, because you've been creating content for quite some time now as well.
Sure. I was working in traditional finance since around 2007, even 2006. So I was around for that whole global crash. And at the time, I was always into trading. It was around 2011 when I heard about Bitcoin for the first time. I Googled it. I looked into it a little bit, but I didn't pursue it. It didn't pique my interest at that time. Same happened in 2012. In 2013, it was a little bit different because in 2013, I watched the Cyprus banking crisis. Those of you that are in Europe probably remember that very, very well. And that blew my mind as to what happened. The government just took 50% of people's money above 100,000 euros. They just took it. No, it's out. It's a bank bail-in. And that's why I'm like, what do you mean? What's a bank bail-in? You're saying all the money that I have at my bank and my 401k, the government can just take 50% of what I've earned. And that led me back into Bitcoin as I was searching for an asset that is truly unconfiscatable. And Bitcoin was the only one because I viewed gold as, well, how are you going to move your gold? Metal detectors will find it, so no good. And that brought me into Bitcoin. And a few years later, I actually bought unconfiscatable.com, and they made a little conference out of that concept. And as that word continues to be more understood around the world. So it was that specific property that got me into crypto.
I went to that conference as well. That was a very good one. Now, guys, you all have had your own stories when it comes to crypto and your own journeys as well. And I want to ask for our viewers that are at home that have their own crypto journeys, have you had any, I'm going to say, crypto fuck-ups along the way? Anything that you've learned along the way that if you could tell a message to your younger selves, you would definitely pass it on? Da Vinci, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, there's a lot of things, right? One, don't trade with your emotions. Make sure you learn how to trade, because I lost hundreds of Bitcoins doing that, right? Make sure you take the time to educate yourself on how to trade. Trade with small amounts of money. That's the key thing. And remember, it's not a race. It's not just a what's it called? It's a fast race, what's those fast sprint? It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest mistakes I did in the beginning was buying too many altcoins without knowing what they were and then holding them for too long. I think that there was one point where I had maybe 70% altcoins and only 30% Bitcoin. From now on, I'm always going to be at least 80% Bitcoin and 20% altcoins. I think that's a good strategy because sure, altcoin seasons are fun while they last, but they always end, and when they end, they usually end very badly. But Bitcoin always tends to keep coming back, and always is this kind of stable coin, you could say, in a sea of volatility. Because Bitcoin can seem like a stable coin against altcoins sometimes. So I would say just keep 80% of your net worth in Bitcoin or your crypto holdings, and a little bit of risk is possible with altcoins, but I would say be a little bit careful.
Awesome. I know for me it was don't try to be a trader as well. That was one of the things I learned. Now, Carl was saying about altcoins there, and I know for you, you are also really an advocate for protecting new traders against altcoins that maybe they don't understand. What kind of new message would you give to traders that might be watching at home?
The simplest message is identify who you are. Are you an investor or are you a trader? If you're going to be an investor, then fundamental analysis really matters because you're going to be holding these assets for a long time. Obviously, I recommend Bitcoin. I've never bought into a single other asset. Maybe some people will consider that a mistake. Clearly, financially, I would have done a lot better had I bought into some of these altcoins that were at the top. But at the time, Ethereum didn't even exist, so who knows what the top could have been. I remember when something like Aurora Coin was number 2 on CoinMarketCap. Paycoin was number 3 on CoinMarketCap. And those weren't that long. That was 2014 days, probably 6 months before something like Ethereum launched. But every person needs to identify, are they a trader? If you're going to be a trader, you need to learn to be a trader. It's a job. It's not something you can do on the side. It's something that if you can do on the side, but you have to understand that it's a side job, but it's still a job. Just like people think they can start a YouTube channel and all of a sudden 1 million people are going to be watching them. No, it is very, very hard to achieve it, to get some kind of a critical mass. It's the same thing when it comes to anything that could potentially make your money. It's like being an entrepreneur. Yes, you're going to have to work 60 hours a week on it, and then once the ball gets rolling and it starts to become easier for you, then you get to work a lot less. So it's not easy. There's no such thing as easy money. And all the people that are making easy money right now with altcoins, if they don't get out in time, like Da Vinci said, he's lost hundreds of Bitcoins. And many people will make that mistake if they stay in an asset for too long as an investor, thinking they're a trader.
Amazing. And now finally, guys, I'm going to ask you all, 1st of January 2022, this isn't financial advice, but I'm going to ask you just to guess the price of Bitcoin. Why not? And we're going to start with you, Tone, because you knew this was coming and I could see you flinch a little bit.
So I think it will be above the prior all-time high of 65,000. I think we will be going into 2021 with a new all-time high. I don't know if it will be 75,000 or 150,000, but I am expecting the all-time high to be broken this year and carry that momentum into next year for the real top that would last longer in terms of time. The current little drop that we had, it was a large drop of 50%, so it was a large price drop, but it's a very short time drop. In 2018, we had a large price drop and a large time drop. After the next top, which I'm expecting in 2022, it may not be such a huge price drop, but it will be a longer time drop. But I do think we're going to go into next year with upwards momentum, somewhere between 75 and 150.
Okay, Da Vinci, I'm going to turn to you now. 2021, 1st of January. What are you thinking?
Well, I really think the Bitcoin price is going to be extremely high because of the printing press. Basically, central banks have opened up the printing presses and they are now creating 25% more currency per annum. So we're going to see massive inflation, which we've already started to see across the board. I think once you have the inflation price, which is obviously prices in front, and most people consider inflation the price increases. Once you have that, it's too late to actually do something. You have to do things before that. And now that you've seen that the central banks are printing, they continue to print, the thing to do is to get into Bitcoin, to get into hard assets. I live in South America, so I've seen it in other countries. There is no option. You can't buy stocks, you can't buy real estate. All that gets wiped out, and the only thing that exists is hard currency, hard money, right? Real money. That's scarce, and so I really see Bitcoin price close to $1 million.
By the end of the year?
Probably in the next quarter, first quarter.
Yeah.
Probably in 2022. First quarter.
So before the next halving,
Yeah.
you're anticipating a $1 million drop down the lake.
Yeah, so I think that $1 million, you say $1 million first quarter next year.
Yeah.
I think for sure we're gonna reach above $100,000 before the end of the year. I think it's possible that we go to like 100,000, 150, and then we crash down. So ultimately we might be at like 50,000 by the end of the year. But I think that we have hit 100,000 before the end of the year. But we could see a correction, right? So and if we don't hit it by the end of the year specifically, then Q1 next year, I'm sure we should hit it. I mean, all the technicals points toward it, all the fundamentals points toward it. The correction we're seeing now is just a small little bump in a road that is leading towards the moon.
I can feel you sitting next to me, desperate to comment on Da Vinci's price prediction.
No. I just want to. I'm just trying to clarify. So you're looking at 1 million before the next halving.
Yes. Because of the massive increase in money supply, and then the corporations are obviously realizing that, wait a second, we have to get into this asset class because we don't have anything that's going to increase our bottom line at 25%. So the only way they can do this, right, is with hard assets. You've seen this playing out through many, many countries. Once they start at this level of printing, there's no way out of it. There's just hyperinflation.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And for me, the massive money printing is not even the biggest driver. It is the corporations getting in, and it's the loss of faith in the U.S. dollar by the world, and the clown show known as the U.S. election did not help matters at all.
I think we're all in agreement, though, that everyone in this panel is pretty Bitcoin bullish either way. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure to catch up. Thank you so much for participating. You made a lot of our attendees at this conference extra special. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, that's all from us, and we'd love to hear.
We got a big crowd.
We've got a big crowd as well, exactly. Guys, you have to come to the next conference. It's going to be good. Thank you.
Thank you.